Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this stylish keyhole turtleneck BuBu kaftan with puff sleeves, as you can see right here. So this is what I got right here. You can see my keyhole. I actually did not want to make the keyhole too big. So here you can see how stylish and beautiful this dress looks like. These are the puff sleeves with its belt, as you can see. This BuBu kaftan is very gorgeous and beautiful. You can make the keyhole bigger, you can make it smaller. It also has a zipper at the back, as you can see. This dress is very gorgeous and beautiful. I like it. So I'll be sharing with you the tips and tricks to sewing this dress and making all these curvy parts you are seeing right here in this tutorial. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn how this dress is made. So let's dive into this tutorial right away. Thank you. I'm using a combination of two fabric, Ankara fabric and crepe fabric. Ankara fabric is 3.5 yards, while the crepe fabric is 1.5 yards. I'm going to start cutting from the plain fabric. So I open up my plain fabric, and this is the length of 60 inches, and while this is the 1.5 yards. So I'll just fold the 1.5 yard part. For your plain fabric, you fold the 1.5 yards this way. So I'm going to fold it into two. Then I'm going to also fold it the fourth time. So the open part right now, we are going to create a zipper allowance on that part. My zipper allowance is 1 inch. I'll go ahead and create 1 inch zip allowance. I'll create it all the way down. After that is done, I'm going to pick up the folded part, which will serve as the center front to match to the zipper allowance. I'll mark my border line of 1 inch. So this is my starting line. I'll place my tape on the starting line and mark my bust point. Next, you are going to mark your waistline. Next, you are going to mark your hip line. Next is the knee line. So I'm going to count 3 inches from my actual knee. My actual knee is 41 inches. I counted 3 inches up, which is 38. Then I'm going to take the full length of this dress. So just take your full length. I use 60 inch. On the shoulder line, I'm going to take my shoulder measurement, divide by 2. I'm going to add 1 inch to it. You add 1 inch to it. On the bust point, you are going to take your nipple to nipple measurement, divide by 2. Add 1 inch to it. Then I'm going to take what I have on the bust point and I'm going to place it on the waistline. Next, I'm going to connect what I have from the bust point to the shoulder, and I'll also connect a straight line to the waistline. Now we are going over to the hip line. On the hip line, you are going to take your hip circumference, divide by 4. Then you are going to take away 2.5 inches. Take away 2.5 inches from your hip circumference, divide by 4. So whatever figure I have now, I'll just mark it there. Then I'm going to connect from the hip to from the waist to the hip. You are going to measure what you have on the hip and place it on the knee line, but you are going to take away 2 inches on the knee line. Take away 2 inches on the knee line. The measurement I have on the knee line right now, I'm going to take away 1 inch or 1.5 inch because that part is going to be penciled, and I'll mark it on the hemline. I'm going to mark a straight line to connect the hemline all the way to the knee line. So what we just drafted right now is basically a fitted gown. So the neck width is 3 inches. I use 3 inches width and 3 inches depth for the front, and I'm going to connect it. It's going to have a turtleneck. Then my keyhole was 3.5 inches. So if you want it bigger, you can make it 4 or 4.5. Then I used my curve ruler to drop the keyhole. So my keyhole is actually very small. If you want to make it bigger, just expand the width of this keyhole. Okay, just make it the way you want. Now on the shoulder, you will come down by 1/2 inch. Okay, on that point I came down by 1/2 inch to connect my shoulder slant. After connecting the shoulder slant, this is what we got. So we are going to create the back neckline right now. The back neckline depth is 1 inch. I'll also connect it all the way to the width of 3 inches. Now we are going to create the zipper contour line. On the waistline, I'm going to create my zipper contour line. So I will extend the zip line and I'm going to contour the back so that back does not have a zipper bulge. So I extended the hip line too and connected all the way like this. Of course, you know how to create the contour line for your zipper. That is exactly what I did right there. Now I'm going to replace the 1 inch on the waistline. So I will go ahead and mark 1 inch on the waistline. On the bust point line, I also marked what I took off. So I'll go ahead and reconnect the back piece this way and then reconnect this other one. As for the hip, we did not take anything from the hip, so I'll just connect from the waist and take it back to the hip the way you see right there. So we are going to cut all the outer lines now. Wherever you see the outer line, that is where we have the back line. So I'll just go ahead and cut, and I want you to watch and see how I'm cutting. I'll go ahead and cut. The part I'm cutting now is for the back. After the back, we'll cut the front. So I will add 1/2 inch on the shoulder seam line. Then we cut through the back neck line. After that, I'll go ahead to continue cutting as you see me do right here. So I'm going to cut all the outer lines down. So I kept cutting to the end of it. Then I am going to cut out the length. I just added 1 more inch. So we are going to cut out the zipper bulge for the back. So you just go ahead and trim it off. Next, we are going to separate the front from the back piece. Then we are going to trim out the front piece right now. So I'll just go ahead and cut the inner lines or the inner chalk line. So that is the part that is for the front. Okay, sorry, my camera was just misbehaving at this point, but I believe you understand what I just did right here. So I'm done cutting and I'm going to cut out the neckline. At this point, the front dress is ready. I did not cut out the keyhole neckline. I will show you how we are going to go about it. So don't just cut it out. Here is my 3.5 yards of Ankara, and this is the yardage, and this is the 45 inches. So I'll pick up the 45 inches length. I'll put it into 2. Next, you put it into 2 again. So we are putting it on the length part right now into 2. So this is how you are going to fold it, and that is how we are going to cut it too. Now I want the borderline part to be on the outer sleeve, so I placed it the other way, while this other part of the Ankara, the folded part, will be on the inside. I will place the fabric. So I'm using the front fabric. It will also serve as the back fabric. So you know the Ankara is unfolded on the shoulder. So we'll place it at that line before we added 1/2 inch. I believe you understand. So just push it out so the waistline matches at 1/2 inch with the edge of the Ankara fabric. So I kept arranging it, making sure it matches appropriately. So the most important part is that shoulder part. Make sure the shoulder part is exactly on the line of that the seam line. So I kept arranging the Ankara at the edge like this and secure with my pin. You are going to trace this shape out on the Ankara fabric. You just go ahead and trace it out. So that is it. I'll trace it all the way down. After tracing it out, we are going to take off the fabric right now. But before we take it off, let us take our measurements. So I took the sleeve measurement at 18 inches. In fact, the whole Ankara will give you 18 inches sleeve measurement. And on the hip line, you are going to take your hip circumference, divide by 4. Then you are going to add, I added 5 inches initially, but I later increased it to 9 inches, okay? So I really want the base of that part to be very big. So you can increase it as much as you wish that base to be. So I added 5 inches to my hip circumference divided by 4 and I marked it all the way down. But I later increased it to 9 inches. Just take note of that. So altogether I got 17 inches when I added 5 inches to it. So I came to the sleeve area and I measured 18 inches because it's going to have gathers. So 18 inches is the wideness of the sleeve. Then I connected the kimono curve all the way to the 17 inches on the hip line. It's time to take off the plain fabric. So right now I added from that my hip circumference, instead of 5 inches I made it 9 inches like I earlier said. So just go ahead and add as much as you want to add on that part. You can even make it 12 inches if you want, but I used 9 inches. So I reconnected that curve. Instead of adding 5 inches to my hip circumference divided by 4, I added 9 inches. So now I'll go ahead and cut it all the way down. Now we are going to add half an inch on that shape you traced. That will be the stitching allowance. So we'll go ahead and cut it all the way down to. So make sure you follow the shape accordingly. So that is how the Ankara part will look like. I made notch on the hip and I also made notch on the shoulder line. Right now I'm going to set the Ankara fabric aside and we'll bring back the plain fabric. So here is the plain fabric and this is the keyhole. So I cut lining for it. So this is the front piece of this plain fabric, lining and fabric. So this is how I'm going to sew the keyhole. This is the right side. You place the main fabric right side to the lining right side. I'll just go ahead and secure the necklines first. After securing the neckline, then I'll turn it to the other side where we marked the keyhole. I want to complete the keyhole circle right now. So I'm going to secure with my pin and pick up my pattern ruler to complete the keyhole. So you can see how I'm placing it. So I just took the shape of what I have and turned it the other way. So like I said, you can make your keyhole as much as you want, but I just want a small keyhole and it's fine and good for me. Next, you are going to secure this keyhole with your pin. So you have to pin the keyhole part very well because we are going over to the machine to stitch around the circle. After stitching the keyhole, this is what I got. So we are going to cut out or trim off the inside of this keyhole. I'm going to cut it out very nicely, gently. Just cut it out at 0.25, a quarter of an inch. So I cut it out like that. I'll go over to the machine now. I'll flip all my seams to the part of the lining and top stitch, then give it a good press. So here is what I got after I'm done giving it a good press. Next, we are going to bring the back piece. So I'm laying the back piece the way it should be. I cut lining for it and fabric and lining for each of them. So I want to mark out the part that is wrong side. Please make sure you identify the wrong side of this piece. That's the inner part of the lining and the wrong side of the fabric. I want to show you how to stitch the neckline so you have a perfect inseam finishing. First, we are going to lay the main front fabric, and then you pick up the back piece and place it right side to right side. So the fabric right side to right side, you pick the front piece and match only the back fabric right side. Then the lining right side, you invert it the other way. So if you watch closely what I'm doing, you understand what I'm doing here. It's just to stitch your neckline. So I am going to secure with my pin the way you see me do right here, and I'll go ahead to stitch my neckline. So if I stitch right now, it's going to give me a perfect inseam finishing. That is exactly what I am showing you here. So make sure you pin before you stitch. I've gone ahead to stitch now, and this is what I got. So I will advise you stitch lining and the fabric together. Stitch everything so there will be one piece. After stitching, I brought back the Ankara piece. So the shoulder part which I notched, I'm going to lay right side to right side of Ankara to the main fabric. So I'll pick up one piece of Ankara to demonstrate to you how this can be sewn. You will just lay the right side of the main fabric to the right side of the Ankara and pin it on that shoulder line. So this part can be a little bit tricky to sew. So make sure you get that shoulder point very well. Then secure, align the rest of it. If you want, if you can pin, just go ahead and pin. But if you can control your stitches, go ahead and stitch. After stitching, this is what I got right here. So I've joined all the pieces together, and this is the sleeve area. So here is the front piece and the back piece. The next we want to do now is to close up the part for the zipper. So I just pick up my zip. Remember, it's going to have a collar, so I took it up a little bit so we'll be able to mark the zipper point. I'll go ahead and join the two back together so we can sew the zip. So I am done stitching that part. Next, we are going to take the round neck measurement. I'll just take the neck measurement the way you see me do right here. I'll take it all the way down. So whatever measurement you have, just add 2 inches to it. The collar. Here my collar is ready right now. The width of my collar is 5 inches, and I folded in half an inch on one side. So the length, I added 2 more inches to the measurement I got. If I have excess, I'm going to cut it out. Next, I'm going to place the neckline wrong side to right side of the band, and I'm going to use the half an inch to top stitch. Of course, you know how to sew a turtle neckline. After I'm done sewing my neckline, this is what I got. So the next thing we are going to do is to mark 1 inch for the zip. I like to mark 1 inch on my zipper line to guide me while I sew my zip. I also marked on the other side as well. So this is my zip. I'm going to place it and stitch my zipper. After stitching the zip, this is what I got for my zip, and the zip is ready. So the next thing we want to do is to sew the sleeve. For the sleeve, I'll just go ahead and make gather stitches on my sleeve. But meanwhile, I want us to cut out the belt that will be on the sleeve. So the width of my belt measures 6 inches width, and the length can be as long as you want the belt to be. The length of the belt, I folded it into 2. That is the first thing you do. Fold the length of your belt into 2. Then you get the midpoint. At that midpoint, we are going to take the measurement of what we have below our elbow. So whatever measurement you have, divide it by 2 and mark on that folded edge. I got 13 inches and I mark half of it, which is 6 1/2. I'm going to make my notches at that point. So that point will be open for our belt. So I'm going to place the belt and sew it like with 1/2 inch. So just like you sew the belt, but on the notch part, I'll leave it open like that. After stitching the belt, then you make a notch at that notch part. I'm making a straight notch this time. Okay, just to separate the stitching line. Then you are going to turn your belt. I'll turn my belt all the way. Here my belt is ready, so you can see the open part I asked you to make a notch to. So it has to be the measurement of that your round measurement. So we will bring in the gathered parts. You bring back the sleeve part and gather it. I've already placed my gather stitches, so I just want to gather it to the width of that my elbow line I measured on my arm. So you make sure you pick up that open part and align it together. Make sure they are equal. So I just placed it to be sure they are equal. Next, you are going to first close this. Place the side, right side to right side, and stitch the side with 1/2 inch all the way down. After I'm done stitching, this is what I got. I'm going to make notches at the corner of the armhole. Then it's time for us to stitch the belt or the band to the sleeve. I'll pick up that band, the open part. I'm going to put it together like this. So I'm going to place the midpoint on the armhole part. That is the part that have the seam allowance. Secure with your pin, while the other end will come to the sleeve grain line, the part that I did not stitch. So you are going to pick that other part, insert the belt on the inside, so it will be easy for you to stitch. So the other notch part, I'll bring it closer to this other part I've already pinned and secure with my pin. So I'll go over to the machine now and I'm going to stitch round with 1/2 inch. Here you can see my belt has been sewn to the puff sleeve. So you can go ahead and make your bow. So I have to tie my bow the way I actually want it to be. So the next thing we want to do now is to take the shape of this dress. So it's actually like a butterfly shape. So I'll place my tape on the shoulder and mark my waistline. So you mark your waistline on both sides. My waistline is 17 inches. Next, I'm going to mark my hip line on both sides. My shoulder to hip is 29 inches. So I'll get the midpoint of my waistline and mark my waist circumference divided by 4 on one side. I added 1 inch for ease. Just add 1 inch for ease. Then I took the total measurement of what I got on the other side. That's by 2. So next, I get the midpoint too of the hip and mark my hip circumference divided by 4. I also added 1.5 inches for ease. Then I took the total measurement on the other side. So what I'm doing here is just to shape it. If you know the way you shape your dress, just go ahead and do that. On the hemline, I got the midpoint and I took my hip circumference divided by 4. I took away 2 inches. I also mark the same thing on the other side. After that, we'll go ahead to connect from the waistline to the hip line like this. Then you are going to take the measurement from your shoulder line. Just take your armhole opening. So the armhole opening is 11 inches. I'll mark 11 inches for my armhole opening. And on that point, I'm going to take my bust circumference, divide by 4 from the midline. I added 1 inch to my bust circumference and connect. So I took the whole of half of my bust on the other side. Then plus 1 inch, which I added to it like that. So just mark the same thing that way. Then from the waist to the hip, you connect. So on the knee line, you are going to get the midpoint of the knee line. So whatever you have on that hemline, go ahead and also locate it, the midpoint, and mark it on the knee line. So the knee line will be equal with the hemline. Remember, this dress is going to have a slit at the back. Don't forget to make a slit at the back. If you are shaping it this way, you know it's a fitted gown you are making right now. Don't forget a slit. So I have to put a slit at the back of this dress. Okay, so you have to put a slit at the back of this dress, unless you want to make it an A line from the knee line. So, but it has a slit. After connecting, I will go over to the machine now, and I'm going to stitch all the way down. So the dress is very much ready right now because I'm done stitching the size of this dress. So I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell to receive more videos. Thanks for watching.